So to start off, I want to start with some golden rules, and these are rules that I think is absolutely critical for anybody in a dental practice to know when it comes to marketing. So regardless of the conversation, the topic, these are things that go across everything that you need to do in your practice. So the first one, and if you take one thing away from tonight, I hope it's this, okay? There is no silver bullet when it comes to dental marketing. There is no one thing that you could or should do to fix your dental marketing problems. I have so many conversations with practices saying, so what is the thing I need to do to get new patients? Or what is the thing that I need to do to retain my existing patients? There is no one thing. If there was one thing, I would have written a pamphlet and not a book. Okay? And this would be a really short seminar tonight. Okay? There are so many things you need to do to market your practice. And if somebody is phoning you and trying to sell you the one thing, please put down the phone. Okay? Because the practices that think there is a one thing will buy a one thing, and quite typically will lose a whole ton of money. Okay, so there is no silver bullet. Identify your difference. So once upon a time it used to be okay to be a dentist and open up a practice and patients would come, true? But now there is an oversupply and you can no longer be just another dentist. It's absolutely critical for you to think about what makes you different from your competition, from the corporates. Okay? And that can be anything. It might be that you want to be a low price, fast, no gap style practice. That's okay. That is a point of difference. It might be that you want to be the dental spa with very high end, focusing on cosmetic. It might be that you want to be the practice that has been in the suburb for 30 years. Or it might be the practice that's been in the suburb for 30 days and you've got the latest technology and you've got the best training. Okay? But you can no longer be all things to all people. Unless you're lucky enough to be in a suburb where there are no other dentists. Tell you another story is I do a full day course at the ADA, and there was a guy there who was easily in his early to mid 60s doing 8 hours of dental marketing, and I kind of thought, okay, I wasn't quite expecting somebody of that demographic to be there, so I said, what's the story? How come you're here? He said, when I opened up my practice 25 years ago, there was only me in the suburb. 25 years later, there are 27. 27 practices. This is Sydney. And he said, I have to understand this. I have to get to grips to this. I need to know what I'm doing wrong and what I need to be doing to compete. So once upon a time, it used to be okay. Now you have to understand what your difference is. Along with that is being authentic. So once you've identified your difference, you need to talk about that difference. That makes sense, doesn't it? You need to think about who you are. And all of your marketing needs to be aligned with your difference. So one of the mistakes I see is that practices are trying to be something that they're not. So imagine that you're the practice, that's been there for the last 25 years. He may not have had, and I don't know because I haven't visited his practice, but he may not have renovated for the last 25 years. Okay? If all of his marketing says, hey, we're the dental spa and it's beautiful here and we treat you like royalty, and the patient walks in and it hasn't been renovated for 25 years and it looks nothing like a dental spa and all the marketing is talking about this, is that authentic? No. What happens when the patient walks through that door? Do they feel that maybe they've been cheated? Yeah. But if here's the practice that's been there for 25 years, and he is saying, we've been there for 25 years, we have seen 3 generations in this suburb, we have the most experience. Is that authentic? Okay? There's the practices that are trying to be the corporates, but they're not, so don't try and be the corporate. If you're a 1-chair practice, be a 1-chair practice. Okay? Be small, be intimate, be personal. If you're a 7-chair practice, don't try and be small, personal, intimate. Okay? Does that make sense? Be who you are. Make sure that everything is aligned. Likewise, if you are saying that we are the friendliest practice in the suburb, and your receptionist is the grumpiest person in the suburb, what happens? Happens all the time, I know it. What happens when somebody picks up that phone and they hear the grumpiest person in the suburb? And all of the marketing is, we're friendly, we care about you. Does that affect your branding? Does that affect your marketing? Okay, be authentic. Make sure that you know what your difference is and talk about it. And don't try and be anybody apart from who you are. Your ideal patient. Again, it used to be okay to try and attract everybody to your practice. If you know who you're trying to attract, it makes it much easier. So if you know that you're trying to attract high net worth individuals, empty nesters, 55 to 75-year-olds, they're going to be hanging out in a different place than families, because you'll market in a different place. You won't market in the local preschool if you're wanting empty nesters, true? You might be advertising at the local golf course. If you're trying to attract business people, you need to think about what they want. You need to think, maybe I need long opening hours, maybe I need convenient parking. If you can identify who you're trying to attract, then you can start thinking about what they care about. Is it convenient opening hours? Is it payment plans? Okay? Is it locality? Is it 1 block away from the train station? Okay? You need to think about your ideal patient, and then you can start marketing to them. And hopefully, if you've identified your ideal patient, when somebody phones up and says, hey, you can advertise in Seniors Weekly and I'll give you a great bargain, and you in your head go, right, okay, well, I want families, they're not going to be reading Seniors Weekly, you can put down the phone. It's an example of a practice in Sydney that phoned me and said, look, I've been given the best opportunity to advertise on the radio. And I said, okay, tell me more. And she said, oh, you know, they've given me a really good deal and I can advertise all over New South Wales for the next 6 months for this bargain. She's in the middle of Sydney CBD. Ideal patient? Where's the ideal patient? Sitting in their car listening to this radio station in, you know, country New South Wales? Absolutely not. Are they on the train? Yes. You've got to think about who you're trying to attract. She thought it was an amazing deal. Okay? It's laughable, but I hear it all the time. So please, 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 when somebody's trying to sell you something, think about your ideal patient. There's an exercise in the book that goes through this so you can really think about who they are, what they care about, what you should be talking about. Planning, tracking, measuring. Anybody that's heard any of my seminars before knows that I bang on and on and on and on about knowing your numbers and having a plan. It is absolutely critical for you to know what you're trying to achieve. There's no point in saying I'm marketing because I want patients. Okay, how many patients? How much are you going to spend? How long are you going to let that piece of advertising or marketing run? You absolutely need to have goals. You need to be tracking. You need to know your numbers and you need to measure against those goals. Again, I speak to so many practices that are just hemorrhaging money. They are spending a fortune on marketing that is just not working, and because they're not planning, they're not tracking, and they're not measuring, they don't know. So many practices come to me and say, I'm too scared to start this. I'm too scared to try something different because I don't know whether this marketing is working or not. I'm hoping that none of you here are sitting in that space, because if you are, you need to take back control. And with that, you need to know your numbers. You need to know your return on investment. You need to know what's working for you and what isn't in your marketing. And I'm going to talk about a few more numbers in the presentation. So even though it's a non-numbers presentation, I'm still going to hit you between the eyes.